My name is Patty Holland, and I'm with the School of Professional Studies at Brown University. And this is where our professional training and our public programs are situated. And then I'm also an assistant professor of the practice in the School of Public Health, which is where our Center for Mindfulness is situated. And that's where a lot of the research staff are. So I want to make sure everyone's here for the same reason. So we're here to talk about the MBCT class, but mainly the MBCT Teacher Training Program. Is that correct? Is that what people are interested in, or just the class? Dominique, both? Teacher training?
Teacher training.
Great. Esther, how about for you?
Just the class.
Just the class. Great. Brian, both? Elia, how about for you? Both. Okay, great. Great. So I'm going to start with the class because that's actually like the first step for teacher training. So at Brown University, we offer, our mindfulness education faculty offer a number of programs. So we offer evidence-based programs. The two primary evidence-based programs we offer are the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program and the Mindfulness-Based Cognitive Therapy Program. And so I'm going to talk about that program first. And then for those that are interested and eligible, we offer teacher training in both MBSR and MBCT. With the first step being, if you've not already taken the class, you have to take the class. So and you take the class personally, not as a training. The classes that we offer at Brown, while people do come with some professional interest, everyone is there for personal reasons. And from an MBCT perspective, really right now and often, like, who amongst us isn't experiencing just a little bit of anxiety and perhaps some depression? What I share with people in my class is, while I do have a professional background in psychiatric rehabilitation, and I've been teaching mindfulness for over 10 years, mindfulness full time, I'm really familiar with what we explore in MBCT. Personally, I'm very familiar with anxiety, and also I'm familiar with depression through my mother's experience. So how many of you are familiar with MBSR? Okay, a couple of you, because MBCT is built on it. So I'm going to start with MBCT, and I'm going to show some slides, if that's okay. And feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. So MBCT, I asked about MBSR, because as you'll see, and as I'll mention in a moment, MBCT is built on the foundation of MBSR. So I'm actually going to start there. So mindfulness-based stress reduction was designed by John Kabat-Zinn, for those of you that might have heard of John. John was a longtime mindfulness meditation practitioner. He was a yoga teacher, and he was also a cell biologist out of MIT. And he thought long and hard for quite a while about how he could bring the practices that he was experiencing in mindfulness to a general population, particularly healthcare, because of the health benefits that he was experiencing. And he wanted to do it in a way that didn't require any kind of knowledge of or allegiance with or understanding or alliance with any particular tradition, so that it was open to all people, whether they were aligned with a particular faith or tradition or without, but really wanting to understand the nature of the mind and how mindfulness might support their well-being. And so he designed this program, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. So MBSR and MBCT are curriculum-based, evidence-based programs. So MBSR is an 8-week, 2.5-hour program that provides systematic training in mindfulness meditation practices, looking through the lens of stress psychology, and stress physiology. And one of the things that John did immediately, so he designed the course and he brought it to UMass Medical Center where he was working. And they let him set up in the basement, and he started offering it to people, mainly people with chronic pain. And he immediately started researching it. So a lot of the research that we see from mindfulness stems from this early research from MBSR. John did this in the late 70s. And then in the mid-20s, actually, mid-20s, 3 experts in the field of depression, particularly recurrent depression, cognitive therapy and research. 2 in the UK, Mark Williams and John Tisdale, and 1 in Toronto, Zindel Siegel, wanted to create a program based on what we knew by that point about the role that cognitive therapy can play in helping people that were experiencing depression. They wanted to create 2 things. They wanted to create a group-based program because at that time, cognitive therapy was predominantly individual-based, and they wanted to make it more readily available. But they really sought to, through the research, through what they were learning, through their research. Zindel is up in the University of Toronto. At the time, Mark Williams was at Oxford and John Tisdale was at Cambridge. And they wanted to, what we were learning is through cognitive therapy and the research, but also then they were continuing to look at research, is this intimate connection between our thought patterns, our moods, our body sensations, and how we relate to all of that, and how that contributes to the intensity, frequency, and duration of depressive episodes. MBCT was originally designed and researched for recurrent depression. And over the past 30 years, it's been researched for people that are experiencing current depression. There's some research now showing for more pronounced symptoms of depression and also anxiety. And now there's research also on other health-related conditions that can really give rise to these really challenging and unsettling mood states of depression and anxiety. So one of the things they did in their research while they were developing, so MBCT grew up out of a research grant. Zindel Siegel got a MacArthur grant to develop this program, is they went to the Center for Mindfulness at UMass and they met with John Kabat-Zinn and they took some of the MBSR programs and they realized that the structure of MBSR was what they were looking for and the systematic way mindfulness practices were trained. Because what they noticed from the research is if individuals could learn and apply 2 key skills, attention regulation and what in the research is referred to as decentering, or a stepping back from our experience. So decentering is not repression, suppression, or denial. It's being aware of our experience, but stepping aside of it so that we can relate to it differently. That these 2 mechanisms and skills could be instrumental in improving the experiences that people have while they're experiencing depression, but also in reducing the intensity, frequency, and duration of depression. And so they were looking to develop a different relationship to experience overall, which mindfulness supports us in doing, and helping us recognize habitual patterns. All human beings have this way that we habitually avoid that which we don't want. And when we've experienced more pronounced mood states like depression, like anxiety, like prolonged distress, actually, these really register with us. And we also have more ready access to negative material, just how the brain works. The brain will pull on its working memory to try to predict and control what's coming. So really looking for a way to recognize how it is we're avoiding. For example, we might be ruminating. You might not think of ruminating as a way of avoiding or problem solving, but that's how the brain really experiences it. And it's also what contributes to distress. So really looking at these ways that we're maybe relating to our experience in such a way that can trigger or worsen depression and anxiety, and to support us in disengaging, in sort of like stepping back from or interrupting this escalation of rumination and thought patterns. And then also recognizing earlier what we can do to take better care of ourselves. So these are the founders. Zindel Siegel, like I said, is up in Toronto. I trained with Zindel, and Zindel, for those of you interested in the teacher training aspect, Zindel has been consulting with us from the beginning and teaches in one of the courses with me. He comes and teaches half days during our 5-day teacher advancement intensive. And that's Mark and John Williams. So what is MBCT? Let me just explain about the program first. So like I mentioned, it is not taking mindfulness and dropping it into cognitive therapy. It is a curriculum-based modality. So MBSR and MBCT are probably the two most widely researched mindfulness-based programs. And right now, I would say MBCT is probably more widely researched because a lot of the research is now moving into the neuroscience. One of the researchers at Brown is currently looking at different aspects of MBCT and how it can support people living with depression. Oxford University, and in particular, has done a lot of the research on MBCT, and I'll talk a little bit about the research in a moment. But it's a group modality. It's a curriculum-based modality. And so at Brown, we are very committed to adhering to the integrity of this program. So we deliver it, we teach it the way it was designed in research now for 30 years. And then we train teachers to do the same thing. So it's a group-based modality, 8 weeks, about 2.5 hours, and it's highly experiential. A lot of the time is spent systematically training in different mindfulness practices. So for some of you that have a mindfulness practice, or for those of you that don't, we train in these different ways that we can attend to our experience, a more focused attention and open awareness. We train in the body scan. We train in mindful movement, these formal practices. And then there's also brief practices. In MBCT, there's a practice 3-minute breathing space. And then we also look at different informal ways that we can cultivate this quality of awareness and attending to our experience that can support us. So that at the end of the class, we have a variety of ways that we can engage in the practice so that we can somehow make it our own, so that we can carry forward the learning that we're making. And the class goes through this while we're systematically training, moving through these different mindfulness practices. We're moving through a curriculum in a very systematic way. We explore the difference between being on autopilot and awareness, because it's often when we're on autopilot, which we are a lot, that we habitually start reacting to things and ways of behaving. And this contributes to our distress. And so when we become more aware, we can see these patterns and we can interrupt them. We take a look at the tendency we as human beings have, and especially when we're experiencing depression or anxiety, there's this tendency to live in our heads, to be thinking about, and to be trying to fix. Like, how many of you that have experienced these have had the thought, oh, if I could just figure out what's wrong with me, I can fix it. So we're constantly trying to think our way out of something that we can't think our way out of, because sometimes the way we're thinking about it is actually causing some distress. We explore gathering our scattered attention, and we do this through mindful movement, right? So that, because sometimes people think of mindfulness and meditation as, oh, sit and stay. But sometimes when our mind and body is really restless, being still and sitting is like the last thing we can do. Movement can be very helpful. And so we explore that. I mentioned that we have this way of habitually avoiding what we don't want. And why wouldn't we? Who would want to experience anxiety? Who would want to experience depression? Who wants to experience the distress? Yet when we avoid it, when we resist it, that's part of what contributes to the intensity of it. So we look at recognizing aversion. And we look at these qualities of allowing and letting be, and how that might support space that we can respond differently. So when we explore allowing and letting be, we're not saying that we have to like it, and it's not about condoning, and it's not about taking action. We're trying to interrupt this habitual resistance that's causing more tension and distress. We explore our thoughts, not in the way, for any of you that are familiar with cognitive behavioral therapy or cognitive therapy, where there's a way where we're actively working with thoughts, we're keeping a record, and we're reframing and reappraising and reevaluating. So there's an active working with the content, and all of that can be very helpful. But when mindfulness is the primary mechanism, we're exploring, is there a way first that we can relate differently to them? Seeing thoughts as just thoughts is not fact. Exploring when we're more vulnerable to these negative thought patterns and less vulnerable, and how can we cultivate a stronger sense of resilience? And then we look at how can we take better care of ourselves. Often it's a steady mindfulness practice, and whatever that looks like. But the research shows that consistency is what's important right now over length of practice and continuity. It's sometimes our awareness that we've cultivated, this familiarity with awareness that allows us to recognize that there's been some shift in our thinking and in our mood, and that we should do something to take better care of ourselves. And we look at how we can nourish ourselves and what depletes ourselves, because often the first thing that goes is taking care of ourselves. So that's how the course unfolds. And then there's between session practice where you'll have guided practice recordings so that you can strengthen and develop your mindfulness practice. And so recently in August, I was at Oxford. They had a gathering of MBCT teachers, recipients of the service, researchers, and we were looking at 30 years of MBCT. And one of the keynote speakers laid out the research, strong body of research. So what the research shows is that MBCT substantially reduces the risk of relapse depression. And it performed in randomized trials fairly equally with antidepressant medication, even stronger when paired with antidepressant medication. Right, so this isn't to say that it should be a replacement, but it can be an augment, or it can be when like a major episode of depression might have resolved, for example, then practicing mindfulness in some way can help. Taking what you've learned through the program into your daily life can help. Recent studies are also showing that beyond prevention, it's also supportive for current relief symptoms. I share this with my classes, and I'll share it here, that in one of my very first classes, I had a gentleman in my class who had a pretty long history with depression, a number of hospitalizations. And during about class 5 or 6, he started to get quiet. And in class 6, he actually started to cry. And nobody swooped in to fix him or try to make him feel better. We just held him and wanted to see what was happening for him. And he shared that he realized in the last week or so that he was starting to experience these early signs of a recurrent depressive episode. And he was sad. He wasn't just sad because depression was happening. He was sad because he never wanted to experience that again, of course. And then he got quiet. And then he shared that he was on his way out running an errand. And as he was getting into his car, he looked at his neighbor's tree and the way actually that the sunlight was hitting the tree. And he said that he smiled when he saw it. And he knew he was smiling because he could feel the muscles on his face form a smile. He said, before that, I was never that aware of my body. And then he was aware that he had the thought, that tree looks really pretty. And then he realized that it never occurred to him that he could both be experiencing depression and moments of joy at the same time. So there's this broadening of our perspective. Because it's a group-based program, evidence is showing that it's also financially viable. And so one of the intentions why Brown offers it is we want to make it as readily available to people in their communities, which is why we train teachers. We want it to both be available to individuals, and we want it to be available to individuals where they live. So MBCT is also shown to be a promising next step. And the research now is moving away from these efficacy studies, pre and post effectiveness. And now we're starting to look at the neuroscience. Like what's really happening with the brain and with our nervous systems as we engage in mindfulness in some way? And how is that supporting our well-being? So I'm going to stop here for a moment. And Esther, I want to see if you in particular have any questions about the class, but also see if any of you have any questions about the MBCT class.
It seems like it's a great a great class for people to join in,
Yeah,
especially like when an example like you just gave of somebody who's depressed who also found the joy at the same
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really remarkable.
Yeah, and we explore our thoughts and we notice this is like we notice how easily we can identify with our thoughts. We might make a mistake, and I made a mistake very quickly becomes I'm a mistake. And we can notice how, especially with depression, there tends to be this like cascade of negative thinking. And remember, I said that in part, this is the way our brain is working. When we have the states, when we've had these experiences in the past, the brain, as we're learning, is so much more of a predictive modeling organ. And so it's pulling on working memory to try to make sense of what's happening and what's coming. So it will pull on these strong emotions. So what the research has shown with some recurrent depression is like a slight shift in mood. You could even just wake up because it's a cloudy day and feel like that heaviness in the body and a low mood. A slight shift in mood can trigger a cascade of negative thinking because they're so paired. Or a passing negative mood can start to trigger a downward spiral. Mindfulness allows us to see that this process is happening, and then we might be able to intervene earlier.
Mm, great.
Yeah, so there's lots of ways that we do that.
Mm.
Any other questions on the class itself?
I just had a question on the scheduling and when it begun, if it only begins at certain times in the year.
Yeah, so at Brown, we just started our class. I just had class 1 this morning. So we'll start again in April. You don't, so for those moving on so there's other places that we recommend and teachers that we recommend. UMass Memorial also offers MBCT. They start around the same time that we start. We offer the class 4 times a year, and we offer it at 2 different times. So at Brown, we'll offer it next in April, and we usually offer an evening class, Eastern time, 6 to 8:30 p.m. And we also offer a morning class, 9 to 11:30.
And is it in person? Is it kind of a
We
hybrid?
offer our classes online.
Okay.
Now, all of our classes are online.
Okay.
Yeah. MBSR, we're starting to offer 1 class in person in the Rhode Island, in the Providence area. I don't know if we'll do that with MBCT. MBCT tends to be a smaller program. We keep the classes a little bit smaller. And I think, so the research has been so strong that it's in the National Health Services of the UK and Canada as treatment is normal for mild to moderate depression. So it's not been this well known in the United States, which is why Brown was very interested in offering it and in offering teacher training in it. We want to make it more readily available. And in fact, when I went to Oxford and I was talking with Zindel and a couple of MBCT teachers from the United States, we're working to create like an MBCT North America so that we at least know who's teaching. Because I get asked a lot, do you know if there's an MBCT teacher where I live or offering a class? Or do you know if there's a therapist that's been trained in MBCT that might bring that into their work? And so we want to make sure we have a ready list of that and available for people as it starts to grow.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's the class. So I'm gonna, if there's no more questions about the class, I'm gonna move on to the teacher training. Yeah, is that what some of you are interested in? Yes. Great. Okay, let me move on to that. Let me just show my slide again. Because if you go to our website, I know it can be like, what is all of that? It can get a little bit complicated. So let me try to make it easy and then I'll be available to answer some questions. Yeah. Okay. So we offer 2 certificate programs. We offer the certificate in MBSR teacher training, and we offer a certificate in MBCT teacher training. And if any of you here are MBSR teachers already, I'll talk about an expedited path at the end. So as I mentioned at Brown, because we're very interested in upholding the integrity and the rigor of the programs, how they've been designed, how they've been researched. This is how we teach and this is how we train. And so we want to do two things because the research has shown this. We want to both train teachers in the curriculum itself and to really understanding it. So for some of you that are professionals, it's not like going to a one-day professional training. Because in MBCT, the main mechanism of transformation is mindfulness. And in the very beginning, John, Mark, and Zindel weren't sure that the teachers needed to have a mindfulness practice. And they went to the UMass. They didn't take the full MBSR program. They only took a couple classes. They saw how they could use that model to teach the skills that they were looking to teach. So they wanted to use the frame of MBSR and bring in some cognitive exercises that are facilitated as awareness practice to help us sort of like to help illumine and help us understand the nature of the mind in these patterns so that we can try to break them. They went back, they designed something, they immediately started to research. They didn't get the results that they wanted. So they went back, and these three men, I have such profound respect for them, very humble, experts in their field at the time. They went back to UMass and they took the entire program. They're like, oh, we think we missed something. And one of the things they missed was the importance of the teacher's mindfulness practice themselves. We're not doing things to people. We're not reading from scripts. We're entering the class really fully as a participant ourselves, open and curious to experience, open and curious to all experience, not trying to get someone to get something or understand anything in particular, because this is what we're wanting to facilitate others in learning. So in our training programs, we aim to do two things: train along the lines of the integrity of the program and help strengthen and deepen the teacher's personal mindfulness practice. We need to understand the territory that we're asking people to traverse. When we're in class and we're looking at recognizing aversion, we have to be really comfortable with what that feels like ourselves. We don't want people to have our experience. We want people to have their own experience and to learn from their own experience. But we have to have experience with it ourselves. So we aim to do two things. And like I said earlier, Zindel's consulted with us on the development of the program. And when he can, he co-teaches the 5-day TAI with me. He comes for half days. Online. All of our teacher training is online. So there's two steps. And I encourage people to think about the qualified step because that's what gets you teaching in a way after training. Certified takes much longer, and I'll talk about that as well. And then I'll show you graphics. So the first thing is you need to have taken the course personally. You need to first, for the teacher training program, you need to have some professional experience working with individuals who are living with experiences with depression and anxiety. So that's typically in some healthcare or educator field. MBSR is a little bit broader. It doesn't require that. With MBCT, we do. And if you're wondering if your experience qualifies, then we can meet individually. I'm happy to talk with you about that. So the first training course, so you take the course personally. It's not a training. You take it personally, you dive in, and this is how you learn. So ideally, you strengthen your practice, but you also benefit personally from it as well. But also, how do you know you want to invest your valuable resources, your time, your energy, your finances, to train to teach something that you don't know, that you've not experienced? So we want you to experience it because you may take the class and be like, oh, I really enjoyed that. I don't have a group practice. I don't think I'll teach it, but there's ways I might bring some of it into my work individually, or I can refer people to the program. So you take the course personally. And then the first training course is the MBCT Foundations and Facilitator course. This, I think, is the heaviest lift. It's 10 weeks. You're back in a second MBCT class. And then the trainees are in a 3.5-hour seminar on another day that week because we use our lived experience in that second class to start to unpack the curriculum session by session. And we're also exploring our meditation and our mindfulness practice. And we're looking at what underpins or what supports these mindfulness programs. And then Bangor University in 2014 developed a tool called the MBITAC, the Mindfulness-Based Interventions Teaching Assessment Competencies. There's a lot of mindfulness out there. It's like so much in our culture now. And what I would say is there's a lot of really good mindfulness training, mindfulness teachers, mindfulness classes, and there's some questionable ones. So we want to make sure people are competent. So when Bangor University developed a master's in mindfulness, they needed some way to evaluate students. So they were able to collectively with other training institutes identify 6 domains of competency. Oxford University is involved and Brown now stays involved. So that because the 3 of us are looking at both how do we use it in our teacher training, how can we use it individually, how can we use it in other mindfulness-based modalities such as DBT or ACT. So also in the facilitator and foundations, we look at the 6 domains. And also in that training program, you practice guiding the foundational practices. So you'll guide a brief body scan. You'll guide some mindful movement. You'll guide the 3-minute breathing space. And you'll do a 20-minute presentation, this interactive dialogue about what is mindfulness that has within it a 10-minute focused attention. And then you'll receive feedback so that at the end of the foundations and facilitator course, you haven't yet taken the full training to be able to teach the 8-week program, but you will now know enough that you receive the Credley badge of mindfulness facilitator so that you can guide mindfulness practices safely, because we look at trauma sensitivity. How do we need to adapt practices and support people? And also some people will be like I said, I don't work with groups, or I don't work with people that would take an 8-week, 2.5-hour program. So you will have done a deeper dive into the MBSR curriculum and a little bit with the research that you could put together shorter programs based on MBCT. You couldn't call it MBCT, but you could call it based on it, so that you're pulling from the research and quite frankly, just not making something up. So that's the first training program. And people stop there. They're like, oh, this is all I need. This is perfect. And then other people are like, no, I actually really want to deliver the full program. And so the next training program is the 5-day teaching advancement intensive. Right now, our next one is scheduled for April, and I'm working with Zindel on dates for one after that. I don't have those yet. So that gets you to the status of qualified, and that allows you to start teaching independently, generating revenue. So you can say I recommend people don't market themselves as a qualified teacher, because people are like, would you market yourself as a non-qualified teacher? Right. So you can say you're MBCT teacher trained through Brown University if that part is important to you. Then I'm going to move to this graphic. To complete the certificate program, it's more courses and more teaching. So here's the part that I got to that I just talked about. So the prerequisites are, there's some background and understanding of both cognitive behavioral therapy, whether personally or you've taken a professional training on it, but you just have some understanding of this relationship between thinking and mood state, because we don't teach that. We expect that people have some understanding. You might have gotten it through your academic training. And then you take the course personally. 1 year of, we prefer 2 years, but 1 year of a mindfulness practice is also required, or contemplative practice, right? And you can let us know what that is. And so then you take the facilitator course, MBCT Foundation and Facilitator. You're a mindfulness facilitator. In terms of teaching 3 minimum introductory programs, it's not required before the TAI. It's intended to give you an opportunity to start practicing offering mindfulness out in the public. But also, if you know you're taking the TAI, it allows you to create intro programs that you can use as a marketing to let people know that you're going to be offering the MBCT. So then you take the TAI, the 5-day training program, and then you're a qualified teacher. So that's like, for people that want to teach, I encourage them to think about that. The full pathway is longer. I got us to here. So to become fully certified or to complete the certificate program, you need to teach the full 8-week MBCT class a minimum of 4 times. That's what actually can take the most time. It all depends on your opportunity to teach. You also need to have taken either within the last 3 to 5 years or during any point in time, 3 silent retreats. This is supporting you to deepen your practice. These could either be 5 to 7 day silent retreats, or some of our adjunct teachers that are trained retreat teachers offer 3-day retreats. And they don't, Brown doesn't offer these, but we just list sites of retreats that we take. You can offer them, you can find them many places. And I'm happy to talk more about people individually about that. And then there's 2 other courses that are shared by both pathways, MBSR and MBCT. Dialogue and inquiry, this way that we explore and investigate experience. And then also the ethos of mindfulness-based programs. We've just redesigned this, so it's 2 6-week sessions, some self-study, 3 in-person classes. So we look at the key underpinnings. We look at the contemplative practices and teachings that underpin mindfulness-based programs. We look at the research and the science. We look at experiential education, because this is very much an experiential program. We're not telling people, we're not talking about something. We're inviting people for a direct experience. That's how we learn. That's how the brain learns. And we look at group process. And then we look at this frame of trauma sensitivity, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, so that we look at how can we adapt what we're doing to meet the people in our class, to meet the community that we're in, to meet our culture, right? There's some adaptations that might need to happen, some modifications that might need to happen. And so you take those courses, and you can take those courses anytime. You don't have to do them in particular order. So I'm going to stop sharing. It's a lot. Hi, Jean. And just going to open it up for questions that you may have. Yeah, Jean.
I'm curious.
Oh, look, Lakeisha and then Jean.
I was gonna, and I apologize, I was a little late because I was having issues, but I'm at the office now. But does any of this qualify for CEUs?
Yeah, it's a great question. We don't yet grant CEUs. We're in constant conversation with Brown about this, trying to do this, both for the MBCT class itself and the training. What we have the hours listed, and I think it's confusing that we do that. What we do offer is we will offer the contact hours, we will offer the learning objectives and a syllabus that you can then submit
Got it.
on your own. So yeah, we're working on this, Lakeisha.
Okay. Yeah. And then my only other question I was going to ask, I'm a therapist and I use a lot of mindfulness even now. Do we have to be certified as a teacher to use it in therapy, or is it recommended, or would this be just a great addition to it?
So we're training you specifically in the MBCT program.
Okay.
Right. So it's specifically in that group modality program.
Okay.
I will say, I do think that we have an obligation to receive some training in mindfulness if we're going to be supporting people to practice mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
We know a lot more than we know a lot more about adverse experiences. We know, so sometimes just taking the course itself, Lakeisha, can deepen your practice and give you some ways to be like, oh, okay, I have a better understanding, just the 8-week course. Or then taking just the foundations and facilitator course, maybe all that you want. But that's why we also have people start with just the course itself.
Gotcha.
Great question.
The teacher training is to facilitate classes.
Yeah.
Specifically.
It's to facilitate this particular program that's based on 30 years of research.
Wow. Okay.
It's not a general mindfulness program. Yeah, it's a good clarification.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Jean, please.
I just had a question about the requirement to how many total series do you have to teach? 3?
4.
4 to become certified.
To complete the certificate program, which would be certified, yeah.
Right, but to become qualified, what's the?
You don't, no, to become qualified, you need to take the class and you need to take the 2 training courses, the foundations and the TAI. That gets you teaching,
Okay,
and that allows you to teach independently.
and to say that I've been trained in mindfulness, not that I am a sort of, yeah, of course I
Right.
will.
You can say I'm a trained MBCT teacher.
Okay. You know, I wonder if, probably you have thought of this idea, but you know, I participate in a lot of the gatherings, you know, like once a month for teachers to get together, et cetera, and all of those. And a lot of people, and very often when we go into breakout rooms, the big question that everybody's asking is, how do you recruit? How do you,
Yeah.
how do you get your people,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And the thing is that it seems like it's all smooth sailing. I'm sorry that they're opening up. We just got to Florida and they're opening up the sun.
Yay.
And so people have a hard time recruiting to meet that requirement, you know?
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of the classes are filled with people who are taking the class for the purpose of becoming trained. So I always wonder, is there any talk of letting people who have gotten all the training but are unable to gather a group together to complete that requirement? I'm sorry, just one second. Hi, Ron, I'm on a Zoom call. To complete that requirement, that they would be like, teach the class with a teacher there. Do you know what I'm saying?
With a teacher at Brown?
So say I've done all the things, I'm halfway through, and the requirement is I have to teach 4 classes.
Yeah.
Is there any thought of offering people who have been trained through Brown the possibility of having an opportunity to actually teach the course? I would teach the course, but I'm just saying for purposes of explanation, you would be there while I teach the course.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been exploring that. We're not in a position that we can move on that. What I will say for MBCT is most people are coming either working in a practice, whether it's private practice or group practice, or they're working in a healthcare center. So it's a little different. You're an MBSR teacher, correct?
Yeah, I'm certified MBSR.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a little, so often people want to bring it to their clients or other therapist clients. So there's a little bit more opportunity,
I see what you mean.
right? Because of the nature of where they're working,
I
the
see.
nature of who they're working with. They're already going to incorporate as part of their work. That's why MBCT is a smaller class. We're looking for people that also have been trained in healthcare or counseling or therapy because of the nature of the program.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm retired NP and psych, but I'm retired from that.
Yeah.
So I would be looking to do something in the community and I also teach physicians, so to bring it to them. So you're saying rather than worry about the structured, like most people are taking it to get the skills to integrate it into an already established delivery of care.
Some people will do that with the foundations, and then other people want to bring the full 8-week program because that's where the research is. Like, so we talk about in foundations, we talk about building and creating shorter programs for 1-hour sessions based on the content, but those haven't been researched. So quite frankly, we can't say what's gained and what's lost.
That's interesting, though. Have you ever gotten a group of people together that have like done this creative thing and taken that 8-week and then said, "Oh, this is how I'm using it," or "These are the things I've
People do. I think people do that all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think often, and so the foundations courses allow you to do that.
I see. Okay.
Right, they allow you to do that, and but you just can't say you're teaching. I'll just speak to MBCT. So say I was going to develop a course. I've got people that are interested and I want to develop like 4 1-hour sessions.
Okay.
And there's elements of MBCT that I think are really useful around getting to know the nature of the mind.
Okay.
Right. Then I would name it something different and I would say it's based on MBCT. So I'm still pulling on the research, but it's a shorter program.
Wonderful. That's great. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm always so careful. Like, you can't call it that if you're not doing
Yeah.
it. That's MBSR, you know. Don't call it if you're not doing it. But here you have more flexibility, it sounds like, to
You can do the
express.
same thing with MBSR. You just can't call it, like you could develop your own program for 4 weeks and
Yes,
say it's based
true.
on MBSR, but you just can't call it MBSR.
That's true. I never ever thought of that. Okay, that's
Yeah.
really, really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, that is the benefit of going through at least the foundations course, is that there's a grounding
Yeah.
in the curriculum and a deeper understanding than quite
Yeah.
frankly just pulling something out of a hat or off the web.
Exactly. Oh, that's wonderful. That's like a whole aha moment.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was a
Yeah.
great explanation. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, Dominique. Good to see you too.
Okay. Hi,
There you
thank you for all the information. Do you know when is the next course for foundations?
For MBCT foundations?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. We don't have one scheduled for, to look at my calendar. We don't have one scheduled for the spring, like April. We have one scheduled for June.
June, okay.
I'm rethinking April,
Okay.
but mainly what we do with MBCT is we've only been offering the TAI once a year for a variety of reasons, but also as long as Zindel wants to stay involved, we want him involved and is able to stay involved.
Yeah. Mhm.
So because the classes are smaller, we usually look to try to have 2 or 3 foundation classes that lead up to a time with Zindel. So I'm working with Zindel to get I have a scheduled TAI in April, but I'm looking for one after that, probably towards
Okay.
the end of the year.
Okay. So, okay. I will just keep my email and
Yeah, for sure. The next one is in June, though.
okay. There's one in June for
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And how many weeks it is?
It's 10 weeks.
10. Okay.
Yeah, because you're tracking the MBCT class itself. You start the week of the orientation, and then the trainees meet that week because we're looking at the orientation process. A little bit different than MBSR. We're looking at we don't do intakes at Brown, but depending on your clinical site, you might want to do intakes. We're looking at the individual meetings. For those of
Okay.
you that are familiar with MBSR, for example, I find that I spend more time between classes with people because I'd rather have someone reach out to me midweek and say, I'm struggling with this practice than wait to the next class. And yeah, it depends. So, and then we have a week off and then we track alongside the MBCT class itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Sounds good, please.
Hey, Patty. Just for logistics, the next course, which starts in June, I'm guessing that's going to be offered only at one time as opposed to 2 time slots.
Yeah, the foundations, we've typically been offering 5 to 8 in the evening Eastern
5
PM.
Okay.
And we're getting more and more requests. Can we consider times for other time zones?
Right. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Noted.
And then the
Thank you.
TAI, so that you know, is Eastern time. So for those of you depending on where you are, if you're in Asia or the Asia Pacific area, we typically start at 7:30 in the morning with practice. And then it's 5 days. So typically it goes Friday evening and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, full days, like 7:30 to maybe we might have a couple of evening sessions, but just for an hour. And then the Tuesday is half day. So Zinda will come for the Friday evening and the Tuesday, and then he'll come half days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that. I mean, thinking out loud, even 5 in the evening Eastern time could work for me in Asia because it's just like waking up early. So that's cool.
Yeah, because yeah. I have someone right now, I think that's joining at 1, which is a little bit like. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Abu Bakar, how about for you? You can
Hello,
put-
thank you. Can you hear me?
I can, and I can see you. Good to see you.
Yeah, good, thanks. I have done MBSR and MBCT in different levels. One was from one of the UK organizations, the other one from Harvard, Cambridge.
Uh-huh.
But I'm thinking of the teaching program, but as part of probably my doctoral program. So
Yeah.
I'm looking to kind of wider aspect of it rather than just narrowing into short course and finishing it.
Yeah.
So I just completed my psychology postgraduate program and focusing on more of a digital component to psychology.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether there's any program that so wider than just short course of MBCT as a teacher program. If there's any sort of collaborated or combined program to do a professional PhD or something nearest to that.
Oh, like if we have any, because our programs aren't
Yeah.
academic credit bearing.
Yeah.
We don't yet have any academic, like, so our certificate program and our course itself are not yet academic bearing. And
No.
and the only concentration we have in mindfulness is with the School of Public Health with the Masters in Public Health does have a mindfulness concentration. And then the other way would be a complete contemplative. So our contemplative studies offers.
Yeah, I looked into that, but I'm looking into a sort of doctoral program. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. But anyway, I'll be in touch with you to discuss further about the
Yeah,
project
let me
and
put
wider
my direct email here. So if you have personal questions that pertain
Yes,
to
please.
you,
Yeah,
you can just reach out to me and we can set up a time.
that'd be excellent. Yeah.
This is for all of you. Yeah. Send this.
Hi, sorry, another question. Is there a window of time between application and acceptance to the program? Because if one of the prerequisites is the completion of MBCT on a personal basis, and let's say I complete MBCT in April, and want to apply for June, is that a sufficient window of time?
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, you just need to complete the course or be near. I mean, our classes are tried such that we try not to have people overlap. Sometimes if people are taking the course at a different institution, there might be a overlap of like one or two courses. Because then it gets like, especially for foundations, then you would be in class 3 times. So that would be fine. Anything else? I'm really happy for your interest. I'm happy for your interest to take the course and to just benefit personally. And then also really happy for those of you that are thinking that you want to train to teach or bring it into your work in some way, because this just makes it more valuable for people. Right? And a colleague at University of California, San Francisco, Rick Heck, will say, if the research, and Zindel says this all the time, if the research is this strong, and if there can be a choice for people in terms of how they want to approach their well-being, then it should be as available as it can be. Yeah. So I hope to see you all. Continue to see you.
Can I interrupt one more question?
Oh yeah, sure.
As I'm focusing on the further researching on this area, I just want to seek some of your advice as a practitioner as well as a teacher in this area. Dealing with patients with suicidal thoughts or suicide survivors, and at the same time the people with ADHD. Is it advisable to use either of this approach, what we talk about MBSR or MBCT?
Yeah.
And what are the evidence?
Yeah, so you'd have to like Google this. I don't have the citations offhand, but I do know people at the VA in the United States. I want to say the New Jersey VA and possibly Indiana have actually adapted MBCT specifically for suicidal ideation. So they're working specifically for people that are struggling with that. And then at Brown, we're currently Paul Chadwick out of the University of Sussex, clinician, mindfulness practice, sort of, and so I know the Beck Institute did this as well. So Paul Chadwick developed a program, CBT for psychosis, so for individuals that were actively, but because of his deep mindfulness practice, he brought mindfulness into it and has done a lot of research. And then he developed, it's an 8-week program as well, but it's 1 hour, called Mindfulness-Based Therapy. And it's for people that are actively experiencing psychosis. So Brandon Gaudiano here at Brown is a psychologist and does a lot of research with acceptance and commitment therapy. He actually has a grant he has a grant to implement that particular modality. And then I'm working with him on the grant as part of making that available from a teacher training perspective to eligible clinicians. Right now it's just starting, and he's working with one health center, working with Paul Chadwick is training virtually, working with the clinicians. So what I would say is there's been work in the US, and there's been, I think, a lot more work probably in the UK with this because it's in their national health services. So because it's already embedded into their healthcare system, they've expanded it. And then I think people are looking at mindfulness with ADHD and what are the implications for that. You know, a lot of it comes down to, not a lot of it, but it can come down to how do we adapt the practice. So for example, someone that's experiencing active psychosis of some kind, or someone that's feeling like like when I'm really anxious, quite frankly, I can't sit for 40 minutes. I actually need to walk as my practice. I need to move. So it's also learning how to adapt and adjust the practices so that it's safe and that it makes sense to the conditions that the individual is living with and experiencing. Yeah, Jean.
I don't know if people know there was a study, I think it was 21. Anyway, there was a study done with Lexapro, an antidepressant, and comparing it with MBSR. If you guys heard of this study, and MBSR was found not inferior to Lexapro. So it was a pretty robust, response just with no medication at all.
Yeah, it's Liz Hoagie. Actually, it was more recent. It was 2024, I believe.
2024, okay.
And it's Liz Hoagie who did a randomized controlled trial of that.
Okay, yeah.
And if you haven't, I can on our website, you can get the link for our speaker series. If you haven't already have this, do people have that? And so, for example, John Kabat-Zinn was our first speaker. Richie Davidson, the researcher out of Wisconsin, was the second. Zindel Siegel spoke. Liz Hoagie, who did that study, did it. So our speaker series offers a lot of different speakers, both in research and practice and application. And yes, Dominique, right now, our courses are not credit bearing. They're not academic credit bearing. This is why we're situated in the School of Professional Studies, although now the School of Professional Studies is managing the graduate programs. But it's a non-academic program right now. All right. Good to meet you all. Reach out if you have any other questions. I look forward to seeing you.
Patty.
Yeah, take good care, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yes, thank you.